Welcome to a world of unforgettable experiences and immersive marketing. Transform your events into extraordinary moments that captivate your audience. Whether it's corporate gatherings, product launches, or community celebrations, our immersive marketing solutions elevate your events to new heights. Immerse your attendees in a world of audio books and podcasts tailored to your brand. Engage their senses and leave a lasting impression. Explore the power of storytelling with our curated podcast content. From insightful discussions to entertaining narratives, we've got the perfect audio experience for your event. Ready to make your next event unforgettable? Scan the QR code now and book a complimentary immersive marketing call with our experts. Let's create memories together. Elevate your events with immersive marketing. Scan the code and let the magic begin.
You're showing up. You're posting. You're speaking. You're doing everything they told you would grow your business. So why is it not converting? Because visibility is only half the equation. Getting attention is easy. Turning that attention into clients takes strategy. VoiceLab was built to solve that. This is where front-end visibility meets back-end conversion. You learn how to get on stages, create your own platforms, and use podcasts, summits, and workshops to grow your audience and generate real leads. Then you learn what most people never build. A system that captures those leads, follows up, nurtures relationships, and turns interest into revenue. Email and newsletter strategy that actually gets responses. Workflows, not just more noise. Real connection that leads to real business. Inside VoiceLab, you are not guessing. You're learning the how. You're implementing in real time. You're building a business that works even when you are not constantly chasing attention. Because here's the truth. If you don't have visibility, no one knows you exist. If you don't have systems, nothing converts. VoiceLab gives you both, so you can stop performing for attention and start building momentum that pays you back. If you are ready to grow your authority, expand your reach, and finally turn visibility into income, join the VoiceLab. Scan the QR code, join VoiceLab Group on the School platform, and build the business that actually works.
It's all about leverage. It's all about visibility and what's happening on the stage. You are your best voice. You are the best person to market to everybody. I'm sure everybody here, just as we were talking about, Ambassador Mark was saying, hey, people, you talk to people, you've got to get out there and shamelessly plug. And this is what it's all about, is getting out there and using the stage, leveraging it as a marketing tool. Whether you're virtual reality, was there for a minute, and that's where I think I originally met was Kurt, that we were connected to, was in that area of virtual reality. And so that's where my stage started. We'll get started right now, and we'll go ahead and here's the little bit about that. It's got a few more people coming in, and while they're doing that, we'll just get with this. There we are. Joe, good morning. Good morning. All right. Here we go. We'll test out if Zoom's working today, because they did an upgrade on Monday. So it's Tuesday. That's why this is the better day to do it. So just so you know, Shannon,
You're showing up. You're posting. You're speaking. You're doing everything they told you would grow your business. So why is it not converting? Because visibility is only half the equation. Getting attention is easy. Turning that attention into clients takes strategy. VoiceLab was built to solve that. This is where front-end visibility meets back-end conversion. You learn how to get on stages, create your own platforms, and use podcasts, summits, and workshops to grow your audience and generate real leads. Then you learn what most people never build. A system that captures those leads, follows up, nurtures relationships, and turns interest into revenue. Email and newsletter strategy that actually gets responses. Workflows, not just more noise. Real connection that leads to real business. Inside VoiceLab, you are not guessing. You're learning the how. You're implementing in real time. You're building a business that works even when you are not constantly chasing attention. Because here's the truth. If you don't have visibility, no one knows you exist. If you don't have systems, nothing converts. Voice Lab gives you both, so you can stop performing for attention and start building momentum that pays you back. If you are ready to grow your authority, expand your reach, and finally turn visibility into income, join the Voice Lab. Scan the QR code, join Voice Lab Group on the school platform, and build the business that actually works.
All right, folks, I am so glad you're here. We are going to get right into it now. Looks like we've got a few people here, and we've got those people that are here on time, and I love that. And with your cameras off, we love interaction. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Pay It Like a CEO Masterclass with the great and wonderful Shannon Simmons. This is a Voice Lab presents in collaboration with Nicole Borghi Digital Productions. And those of you who don't know me, I'm Nicole Borghi. I love events. I do. They're my happy place. It's a great way. It's the best way and the funnest way to market instead of just a commercial. How do you stand out and shine? You can share it on podcasts. You can share commercials and your wonderful self, your service, and your products, not only on podcasts, but at events, opening the events with something great, eye-catching and connection. And you can share it in Instagram. When you're there, you just post it. Instead of spraying and praying, you're posting something intentional, something that is you. And you're not just attending another webinar. I see a lot more people. I'm not sure why. I don't know about you, but I'd love to hear your opinion in that in the chat. What are you guys feeling? Are you tired of those unreactive, uninteractive, non-interactive, non-engaging, trust-busting webinars that people are putting out there? Why not just put it on your YouTube channel? Let people watch it when they are ready to watch it, when they want to see your stuff. And besides, if they go to your channel instead of your funneled webinar, they get to interact with the rest of your videos. You have playlists. Bless them with all that is amazing about you. And so today you're stepping into this masterclass to start to help you make better financial decisions. Who can't use that forever and always, tweaking what you have in your money? And if you've ever looked at your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? We're going to answer some of these questions, and don't let that profit ghost you, right? In that realm, and you're exactly in the right room. Today's session is about shifting your mindset, and it's really about building a business that pays you with the intention instead of the stress. Because real CEOs don't just make money, they make money work. And I love to hear that. How can your money work for you? Make those dollars make sense all the way. So we're going to use Shannon Simmons is coming here, and she's helping entrepreneurs create stronger financial habits and business that supports the life that you actually want to live. I don't know about you, but I'm getting ready to travel. I want to travel around the world, grab my laptop and go. And I want to let that money work for me instead of, hey, I got to get back in my office and tweak things and wait for that next thing and wonderful thing to come and shout out. But how can we continue this? So I want to welcome the wonderful Shannon Simmons. I'm going to put information here about the Voice Lab. I would love to talk to you guys about affiliating your product and service and creating a masterclass just like this. If you want more of that information, I'll do that, but less of that. And let me support the wonderful Shannon Simmons. And you should have the rights and the ability, Shannon, to share everything that you need to.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. I think I do have all the share settings. I'm super excited to be here with everybody. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're as excited about money as I am. A lot of times business owners are like, money, it's one of those uncomfortable conversations, but I try to make it really super simple and accessible. So thank you all. Thank you, Nicole, for hosting me. Thank you all for showing up live. And I do hope to make this somewhat interactive, pretty simple, and also actionable. I really want you to take something out of our time together today that you can put into place in your business and isn't just something that you come here and learn about and then forget about. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and get started. I have a presentation to share. Somebody could just give me a thumbs up that you can see this screen that says pay yourself. Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. That's what I needed. Let me see. I'm not seeing the one screen I want to see though. Probably just saw the wrong thing. But cool. Okay. This is, like Nicole said, a workshop for business owners who are great at what you are doing in the world, but you're also ready to feel that way about your finances and your money. and making sure that you're taking care of yourself along with your money. I know everybody is here because, like I said, you're great at what you do. You built a business around that skill. It is your MO, so to speak. You're exceptional at delivering that, but maybe money isn't something that you feel comfortable about. Maybe that feels harder, more loaded, more activated. There are absolutely a lot of words we could pick from when we talk about how our relationship with money might feel. Like I said, today we want to talk about what that is first, that relationship that you have with money, and then give you some tangible things that you can actually do about it. I also do want to mention at the very beginning that it's really important not to be judgmental about money. I try to come at this from a lens of curiosity. There's plenty of judgment going on in the world, and we're going to talk about some things that may feel really personal and really deep today. You're not going to be asked to share. Sometimes when I talk with clients, we say that's like getting naked with your money in public, and we don't necessarily need to do that today. But I am going to hopefully get you to think about things a little bit deeper. So don't judge it, just get curious. With that being said, Nicole gave you a little bit of a glimpse into who I am, but I want to tell you a little bit more about me. This really isn't about me today, it's about you, but I also think it's important for you to know who you're learning from. That being said, sorry, my notes are like not in the right place. I'm not sure what's going on. I own a company called Fit for Profit. We are profit strategists for service-based business owners. We do that for a range of industries. Some of our clients are coaches and wellness professionals. Just as many run agencies, studios, consultancies, and other client-facing businesses. But what they all have in common is that, again, you are excellent at what they do, and that money has never quite felt like it matched that level of service and excellency. And so at Fit for Profit, we come in as a business's financial support. That can look like a lot of different things, from bookkeeping the whole way up to fractional CFO, a range of a couple hours a month, the whole way up to several hours a week, depending on what you need. And I think most importantly, we help our clients build systems in your business that make sure the business is taking care of you as the owner. I also like to just pause here and say the thing that drew me to this work, and what I want to spend some time talking about today, is something I keep seeing with clients that just doesn't show up in spreadsheets. When we think about money, we think about accounting software and we think about spreadsheets, but this doesn't show up there. I know business owners are smart, talented, and caring, and you have a lot of skills that you offer the world, but somehow money just doesn't feel stable. And it's not usually a math problem. It's more of a nervous system problem, that relationship that you have with money, and your nervous system and your numbers are more connected than you think. So that's part of what we're going to get into today. What are the 4 things that we're going to talk about today? The first thing we're going to talk about is why money feels different when you're in charge, when you own the business, and kind of get into that nervous system connection. I want to also give you a framework for your money that starts to remove the guesswork that you might be using in your money right now. Then we'll talk about what support actually looks like, that you don't have to do this alone in your business. And then at the very end, I have a tool that will help you to determine where you are with money right now, and an invitation for a next step conversation, if that feels like the best place for you. I think the most important thing that I want to leave you with today is not really more information. There's plenty of that available in the world. It's actually a shift. I want to start a transformation for you today. And again, giving you that concrete tool at the end to make that shift real and lasting in your business. So let's dive in. Why does money feel different when you're in charge? Again, before we talk about those spreadsheets or systems, I want to talk about something that's way more fundamental, because if we skip this very basic part, none of those spreadsheets even matter. And the systems that we start to implement, they don't stick around long term. So it's important to know that your body is making your financial decisions before your brain ever gets involved. I want to explain why this happens before we start to look at specific patterns, because if your brain is not really involved, it's important that we understand how our body is involved in the making of these financial statements. And I know you may be thinking right now that I sound crazy. I promise it's not. It's backed up by science. Studies show that 80 to 90% of all of our decisions are actually made by our subconscious. And that is, our body is our subconscious. Our memories are stored in our body. We are bombarded with so much information on a second by second basis that there's absolutely no way our brain can process everything that is coming at us. So our body and our subconscious are responsible for filtering out the things that we simply can't absorb. And here's the part that changes everything around money. That subconscious was actually wired when we were before we were 6 to 8 years old. So back before you knew what you didn't know. And it means that it was wired based on what was going on in your external environment from when you were born until the age of 8. And our body and our subconscious's main purpose is just to keep us safe, which basically means keep us stuck, keep us right where we are. Because to our subconscious, anything different to us is not safe. And therefore, it tries to keep us in the stuck, because any other direction, left, forward, backwards, is different. Even if it's not what we really need, it's different. And so according to our subconscious, it's not safe and we don't want to go there. So our subconscious is constantly filtering out anything that feels new or different. Again, because if it's new or different, chances are it's not safe. So if it can filter these things out, then our brain doesn't have to waste energy figuring out what to do with the different. That may sound great, because I'm sure a lot of you are sitting here thinking, I already have decision fatigue. Imagine how much more you might have if you literally had to filter through everything that comes into your awareness. So in a lot of ways, it's a really good thing that our body is here helping us out with all of these decisions. But here's the thing, and I don't know about you, but I had a lot of craziness going on in my environment before I was 8 years old. When I look back at it now, I can see it absolutely clearly, but I just didn't realize it at the time, of course. And I actually didn't really know it for the first 15 years that I was in business. For me, my story really quick in a nutshell, when I was young and I would ask my parents for money, it caused a huge amount of tension in my home. And again, this is how I experienced it. It's always interesting to talk to siblings because my sisters experienced very different things. But what matters is how I integrated it into my life. So when I asked for money, there was a lot of arguing that came up between my parents because there really wasn't a lot of money. And according to my parents, they had a very scarcity mindset. So my body learned very early on that money and conversations about money mean tension and conflict, and therefore not safe. And that pattern lived in me for decades without even realizing it. I also had a conversation recently with somebody where we started talking about their relationship with money. And she said, I remember my mom always writing post-dated checks because she never had enough money in her bank account to cover the bills when they were due. And so she would write the check, but date it for 2 weeks later, hoping the money would be there. And those core memories give us a glimpse into what our own relationship with money might be like. So for that person, what was that modeling for her? For her, she took away that there was never enough and money was always a scramble and she was always one step behind. And so that's a scarcity mindset. It's just a normal state of things that she was expecting. And that pattern might have been running her business. It may not have. It may have been something that she had noticed and become aware of and started to shift. And so that's what I really want to talk to you about today. What are some of those patterns that you might be recognizing in yourself? Maybe where did they come from? It's not always necessary, but sometimes the memory is helpful. And then how can we start to shift it? And again, remember, it's not about judgment or blame. Your parents and caregivers were doing the very best that they could with what they had. This is just about seeing clearly where some of those patterns came from. Once we identify them, then we can start to shift them because identifying them is usually about 80% of the battle. So what are some of those things that make you really good at your job, as an owner of a business, but then also create this opposite side of the same coin, right? You are really steady and calm when things get hard in your business for the most part, but sometimes looking at your own numbers can trigger avoidance. That's a paradox that we see in a lot of business owners. Another one is that you catch small problems before they become big ones. A lot of business owners are great at that. But our own money is often a blind spot, or it feels invisible to us. That's what blind spots are. Things that we can't see, those small problems before they become big problems. A lot of business owners also give generously. It's just core to who they are, especially in the coaching world. And some health and wellness professionals are really good at this. It's just core to who they are. And again, no judgment there, but that also means charging what you're worth feels uncomfortable. And this isn't something, you're not going to find yourself in all of these things, but hopefully you find yourself in one of these, maybe multiples, or you can see your own paradox where you're really good at something for somebody else, but it means that it's a struggle then for you when it comes to money. A lot of people also as business owners are deeply resourceful under pressure. Some people say, I do my best work with a deadline right at the end of the day, right? Or when it's right up against the deadline. But man, when it's financial stress, it activates that stress response and it starts to cloud our judgment. So again, these things make you absolutely exceptional at running a business, but there's also this shadow side that doesn't always benefit you as the owner. Again, running a business that serves people well means a lot of us were taught, whether implicitly or explicitly, money and service are intention. And that's where some of these paradoxes come from. So again, we're just here to notice and see what shows up for each of us that's here in the room. How that might actually then show up in your finances, in your business. Again, you won't find yourself in all of these, but maybe some of them. Avoidance is a big one. Not opening your bank statements, delaying sending your bills, putting off pricing conversations, or not opening your own bills or emails that are related to money. This is also a big one. Maybe at the end of a 6-month container with a client, when you've been working with them, you know they need more time, but you don't know how to have the conversation about what's next because it involves money. So if you feel like that's going to be a tense conversation, you might just send emails and hope that they get it. You avoid the conversation, right? That's what avoidance might look like. The other side of that, some business owners over monitor. They're checking their bank balances constantly. I check my bank balance daily, but it's 30 seconds. Some people check it and are going through every single transaction on a regular basis. And then when something moves in their numbers, they get anxious about it. It causes anxiety. And they're really unable to make decisions from a calm place. Maybe you're simply undercharging for your services, pricing based on what feels safe rather than the value that you provide for your clients. And then you're over delivering to justify your rates. I love to tell this story. The value of your work lies in your client or your customer. For one person, your service may be worth $500. If you're a marriage coach, for example, and somebody is in a really happy, strong marriage, that may not be worth much at all to them. But if they're on the brink of divorce, that might be priceless. It all depends on where they are and the transformation that you provide and where you can get them. So we have to set prices from a place of our own safety and knowing what we're all worth or what our service is worth. And then finally, we get to generosity as avoidance. People say, I'm just really a generous person, but really they are avoiding dealing with money. It's the same one as the very first one, but it comes across with this, I need to be generous. So instead of charging full price, they discount, they overgive, one more free call because what the heck, it's easier than having that up-leveling conversation. And here's the kicker. We don't actually know that a client can't afford our services. That is just a story in our own head. So we have to separate the story from the fact. If a client isn't financially committed to the work, they may just not be committed to doing the work at all. It may have nothing to do with whether they can afford our services or not. So when you see any of these patterns in your relationship with money, I just want you to remember we're coming at this from a place of curiosity, not judgment. It's not a moral failing. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a bad person or a bad business owner. It's just a survival response that was programmed into us before we were 8 years old, and now it's working against us. So how do we start to shift that? I said 80% of that shift happens in awareness and really reflecting. So I actually want to give you some time today to reflect and just look at the questions on the screen. If you are a journaler or writer, maybe it would be helpful to write some notes. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. Again, we're not going to share, but I just want to know, I just want you to be aware. Where do you recognize yourself in any of those patterns the most? Where does that show up in your business? What is happening in your business that you can say is, oh yeah, that's because I'm avoiding dealing with money? And maybe even notice what is happening in your body. Are you starting to feel some tension in your shoulders the more I'm talking about this? Are you getting a headache? Maybe a pit in your stomach? Any of those things are pretty common. So I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'm going to play a little bit of music just to give you some time to really think about this, because this is really important. I promise I'm going to get into some practical things as well, but this is really practical as well. Knowing where your body is and what your relationship with money is like before we can get into any practical tools is really important.
This is a good time to ponder, but there's some comments in the chat I know that have been going on here. If you want to share some answers with people so they can reflect on that as well.
Yeah.
And I can just go ahead and shout them out to you. Patrick was saying that he started to get more comfortable charging more because he knows he's giving a lot of it away. And then you have Joe who says, aren't pricings for our business all about the competition, but also the value of what is offered to potential clients? What do you say to that one?
Yeah, again, like I said, the value lies in the eye of the beholder, though, if you're selling to somebody who doesn't really need your services. So I think it's really about finding the right person and understanding what it's worth to that person. And then, yes, there is also an element of understanding what your costs are, but making sure that we're really pricing to the value before we look at all of the practical pieces that are involved and letting our relationship run the show.
Yeah, and if you have those clients, you know them, you're aligned with that avatar, which I see Joe and I have connected and crossed over before that he is, so he knows that can be very empowering. And then let's see, you've got one more thing in here. Oh, Patrick just put avoidance pricing and his stomach got tight on there. So some good things. And if you guys now would be a time, if you want to interact and have some questions, we can take those as now, because we definitely, that's a difference. We want to make sure that you have interactions. This is the time to utilize to either put the question in the chat, or you guys can raise your digital hand or physical hand, and we'll look around that and see what you've got. So Joe, you got a question for Shannon?
I like picking brains, especially in business. Representative Shannon, thanks for letting me come onto this even last second, Nicole. It was just cool. I saw the post on LinkedIn. Between my partner and myself in business, we have redefined, in a sense, our approach. And between the ICP, which I put there, which some people may not know, the ideal client profile, versus what we define as alphas or referrals or collaboration. Have you seen a trending direction where it's been more referral than is client based due to the necessity of, because what we focus on is on the client, what does they need? And it's not going to always be the consistent thing, because every business I think you've seen are unique, case by case basis, despite pricing. And the pricing I've seen with my partner as well, it can be a higher cost depending on what the demand is, necessity that we see to what they see, and then what matches to then start, in a sense, that project, if you will. Have you seen those kind of actual diversities or distinctions?
I think what you're getting at, Joe, and what's coming up for me is really making sure that you and the client are aligned on where you're going and
Correct.
what the transformation you're going to provide actually is, and determining that value in a collaborative way, right? So you understand what you're going to provide and finding the clients who you can do the most for so that you can provide that transformation and then charge what that transformation is worth to both you and the client, right? Finding that place where you're aligned on what the goal is, what the transformation is, and then what the price is too, right? That they see how much you're going to change their lives and they're willing to pay for it, not just,
Oh,
like I
and
said, it's
that's
like
the thing
selling your
also,
service.
forgive me for interrupting here.
No, you're fine.
We have been asked, more me than my partner, because I'm the voice and the face of the company, aside from my lion that yells a lot, roars, which I like to make a joke about it, is because we bring that actual control slash, if you will, power back into that business. Niche doesn't matter to us. It's not the
Right.
niche. It's more about them as far as how long have they been in business? What has been their success as far as their monetary gain per year? How many years have you been in business? What are the failures or challenges? Good questions. And we actually have a 50-question assessment that we do provide once we have someone who's interested or a team that's interested. And when we provide that, it breaks down dissecting, if you will, almost like clinically, medically, to actually find out what is the problem. Where do we have to do the tweaks or improvements? And then once that's broken down, if there's something that's unclear, we go further into probe and a Zooming like this, but one-on-one, to see where we can be of service. Are we going to be able to match? Like you said, is it synchronous? Is there a synergy? Is there an alignment here? I don't use those terms personally because I'm old fashioned, but you still follow the professional actual approach, mentality, and attitude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, Joe, I'm imagining you've been doing this for long enough. You know, people fill out that 50 question form and probably filter out before they even get to that first Zoom call with you, right? Because that's the point for you. You put those questions there. You want them to be thinking about all of their problems. If somebody happens upon your form, which I have no idea why this would happen, and they have a great business, they're on track for all their goals and all the things, you're not going to be able to charge them what you're worth, right? Because they don't need what you have, right? So it's really about finding somebody who needs what you have, who understands the deep pain that they have that you can solve. And once you find that person and you can highlight that, which is what you're doing on that form, then you can charge what your service is actually worth. And that's really what I'm talking about, is not being afraid to charge what that's worth just because it's a high dollar amount in your mind, because it may not be to them. If
Thank you
they
very
can
much for that, Shannon.
see
That's true.
that
It's
it's
very
a
factual.
$50,000 transformation, they will pay you $5,000.
If money means no object and they don't care because they see the value and you see it secure with the over 50 years of background that we have, yeah, the value is there, and it's not about the money. It's about the solution itself, the end run, the goal. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Joe, for helping me process through that a little bit too with you. Oh, go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to see. I didn't see anybody else that had a hand raised, but you definitely go on. This is great.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm not going to make you share because I understand this is really deeply personal stuff, but I hope that in this conversation with Joe or just in your own reflections, you can start to see some of the places where your relationship with money may be less than supportive, right? And maybe you're like, who was it? Patrick, who has noticed that my stomach doesn't feel great. And I will tell you, when I was carrying all of that fear of conflict around money conversations, I had a lot of feelings in my body that just didn't feel really good. Okay. So part of what we do with our clients is help them create what we call a signaling safety to your body, or a money routine. And there are practical pieces to this money routine that we're going to get into. But some of the very first things that we need to do is signal that safety to our body first. Because when we can get our body feeling safe before we move into checking our bank accounts, moving money, doing any of those things, it starts to allow our body to continue feeling safe without having to do so much work. We start to heal some of that stuff that our body accumulated before we were 8 years old, right? So there's 2 stages to this. We also need to process that emotion. A lot of that stuff we didn't process before we were 6 or 8. We've been carrying it for a long time. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the antelope that just got chased by the lion on the African desert in those nature videos. At the end, the antelope will almost uncontrollably shake. It is literally processing what just happened to it and getting rid of the fear and letting that go so that it can continue to live without being in fear all the time. It's aware of what's going on, but it's not in fear. That's where we want to get to. So we need to move that stuck energy in our bodies as well. So I just have some examples on the screen of things that you can do. Some of them take a little bit of time. Dancing to one full song, getting our body moving, 3 minutes. A run or walk may take a little bit longer. There's a lot of different examples. There's a lot, you can Google this, ways to process energy, and you'll come up with things. I just really encourage you to find what's going to work for you, and maybe a couple of different things, something you can do really quick and then something that maybe takes longer, so that every time you are going to do something with money, this becomes part of your routine. You dance to a song, you go have a good cry, whatever it is, process that emotion. Then we want to ground our body and sense back into that safety once we've processed that emotion a little bit before we go actually do the money thing. So these can be really simple, but anything that has to do with your 5 senses will ground you back into, I'm safe here. And it's really fun. Just name something you can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. And all of a sudden your body feels really calm and safe, and then you can proceed into what you're going to do. So again, lots of examples here on the screen. I really just encourage you to incorporate this into your morning or your money routine. Morning routines are great too, but also into your money routine.
Quick question for you, Shannon. Is there a possibility of getting a copy of this presentation you have by chance? Or
absolutely, I'm happy to share that.
Do you want me to send my email to you privately, or you just do it in a group?
I can send it in the group. If Nicole's willing to post it, I can do that. Or you can,
Yeah,
you're going to have an opportunity to meet with me. You can email me, any of the things, whatever works for you.
Yeah, you
I
guys
love you more, girl.
and I'll share it. You'll also get if you guys want, let me know if you want the replay. I'll share it with you on LinkedIn. This is important, good stuff.
It is actually helpful because I just had a minor chat actually with my partner, and the one thing you just mentioned, which is critical, personal health is the highest priority in our lives. We can't be machines because we're not AI or automaton androids. We are human. We have to rest, eat, hydrate, walk, sleep, get out in nature. You're not wrong about grounding because it's actually factual. You can't work all day, 24 hours. Sorry, the body has to shut down a bit to the brain actually process and get to give the body rest. It's part of health. You're correct on that. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the emotional side, which is really great. We need to deal with that. But I promised you some practical things at the beginning. So I want to get into what are those practical things now that we can do with our money that we probably haven't been doing. So let me talk about this framework that starts to remove some of the guesswork. It's called the profit first method. You may or may not have heard of it. It really does a couple of things. I want to show you the traditional formula for accounting is revenue minus expenses equals business. And Joe, I'm going to come back to what you just said about putting our health last in just a minute. So definitely put a pin in that. But revenue minus expenses equals profit. That's where your profit and loss statement, that's the accounting formula that it uses. It's just the business formula that all businesses are evaluated on and everything else. The problem is it leaves profit till the last. If anything is left, then you will have profit. So the person who created this formula, this method, his name's Mike Michalowicz. He wrote a book. You can see it on my wall behind me. It's really based off of behaviors. And that's what I love about it. It's not like a new accounting system. Your accounting system that you're using in your business isn't going to change. The way that you manage cash in your business will change. And instead of using this revenue minus expenses equals profit formula, we're going to simply flip that on its head. And we're going to say now revenue minus profit equals expenses. We're really going to start to pay yourself first. Because the idea is humans are terrible at saving what is left over. Just like Joe, we're terrible at resting. We're terrible at taking breaks for ourselves. We're learning. We're getting better at these things. And so we also are going to do that with our money, right? Because Joe said, we know what happens when we put our health last, when we put our family last, all of that. It's really no different when we put profit last. So this system simply flips that and says, we're not going to save. We're not going to keep saving until the end. We're going to do it at the very beginning. One of the other things that this system is based off of is a law of psychology called Parkinson's law. And it literally says that the more of a resource we have, the more we will spend. And so I like to equate this to time, my favorite analogy, because we've all been in school and been required to write a paper at some point. And usually, at the beginning of the term that you're going to have to write a paper. It doesn't matter if it was a high school and you figured out in January that you had to do it in May, whatever, or college and you had a little bit less time. Most of us still wait until the week or maybe even the night before to start that paper, right? Even though we've known for months. The supply of time was immense and we consumed all of it with our procrastination. And the same thing happens with our money. Doesn't matter whether you have $1,000 or $10,000. If it's all in one place, you will spend all of it. And that's what we do as human beings, and especially as business owners. Every time we grow our business, our expenses grow right alongside it, unless we have a system to make sure that we're paying ourselves first. So that's what we do. There are 4 different places that we allocate our money to, which means we need 5 bank accounts. So here's the 5 bank accounts that we use. The first one we use is called an income account. And this is where all of our money lands. So most business owners get paid throughout the month. I just told you we don't really want to be doing money throughout every day throughout the month. We want to do a 30-second check on our bank account and be done. So we want a place for our money to land until we're ready to move it into all of the other accounts. That's all the income does. It just holds the revenue as it comes in until we're ready to deal with it. The next account that we're going to allocate to is our profit account because it's called Profit First. We want to have profit in our business. And this is how we ensure that, by allocating to that profit account first. I'm going to give you a little bit more information later about how much to allocate into these accounts. For now, I'm just going to tell you what the accounts are. The next account is your owner's pay account. You are your own best employee in the business, and therefore paying yourself is non-negotiable in my mind. And so this is the account that you will pay yourself a salary from consistently, just as if you had other people on your team, or just like you do the other people on your team if you have other payroll. Then you're going to have a tax account. This is the one that got me started in Profit First before I even knew about Profit First. When you are profitable in your business, you are going to have to pay taxes. There are things that we can do to help you minimize those taxes, but you will never not have to pay taxes at all if you're profitable in your business. And so we want you to have a tax account set up so that you don't deal with what I dealt with. About 3 years into business, I had a tax bill that I couldn't pay because I was taking so much out of the business and spending so much in the business. I had no money left, even though I was profitable. And so that's not a place that's fun to be, especially as an accountant, but really at all. Nobody wants to be in that place. And so we have a tax account for you so that when you're paying those taxes, you know you've got the money ready. And hopefully you have more in that account than you need, and you don't have to wait on the IRS to send you a tax refund. It's just sitting in your bank account. That's a really cool place to be. And then finally, you have your operating expenses. And this is where you pay all the rest of your bills from. Everything else. Yes, you will have less in this account than you did the month before when you didn't have this system, but that's the whole point. We know that we can run our business off of what we ran it off of last year, so we're going to kind of go back to that as far as the operating expenses go, while we're still taking care of ourselves and saving for profit and taxes at the end. This also forces some really creative things. I've seen business owners who need a new computer maybe, and they don't buy the biggest and best one. They just buy what they can afford. So it forces some creativity and some frugality, maybe is another word to look for it. It also, like I said, there's ways that you will start to think about money differently when you can log into your bank account and you can see exactly how much you have to spend on an item. And there's no more, oh, I forgot to save for taxes. That happens automatically. Oh, I forgot to pay myself. That happens automatically. And you don't have to do that mental math in your head when you log into your bank accounts. You just see it right there on your bank account screen. So that's the behavioral aspect of this that I love and why it's important to have the actual bank accounts. Some people will try to set this up in their bookkeeping software, like multiple accounts, but the problem is you don't check that before you make a spending decision. You check your bank accounts. So that's why we actually want you to have those separate bank accounts. Any questions about the bank accounts and what you need to have there before I talk about the actual how much you're going to allocate into these different buckets?
Yeah, so on the screen, so you're just saying use bank accounts and be more interactive with it because it's on our phone, right? So it makes it a little bit easier than having to sit there. Sometimes it's versus if we're going into a PayPal or Stripe or a Cash App or Bitcoin, you could because there's so much. So you're saying just condense it and make life easier.
Yeah, like I said, most people are logging into their bank account to make decisions, right? If you want to invest in a new program or you want to invest in new software, some of those shiny objects that we're all tempted by, most of the time we log into our bank accounts and we make that decision. The problem with that is we haven't pulled money out for profit, taxes, or owner's pay yet. And so we want to make it really easy because we do what's easy, right? If it's hard and complicated, we'll procrastinate it and we'll make the decision anyways. And so then we find out later, oh, I shouldn't have made that decision, but it's too late. And now we have to just continue unwinding some of those bad habits. So yeah, that's why we really encourage the bank accounts. Okay, so I'm going to move on to, like I said, I do see some people saying QuickBooks is really helpful, and it is, and QuickBooks is still necessary. You won't be able to get away from recording your transactions in a way that you can put together a profit and loss statement to get your taxes done and all of that. It's really important to do that, but it's really not what most business owners are using to make decisions. And that's why we want to have a system in place that helps you actually make decisions around your money rather than telling you what you did with your money in the past. Okay, so a couple of other guardrails that are just really important and the things that actually make this work. So having those 5 bank accounts is like having small plates. And all of these analogies come from the health and wellness industry or the diet industry. We've all heard these in different ways before, but if you're trying to lose weight, one of the strategies that you can use is to use a smaller plate at dinner, because then you can still fill it up and eat everything on the plate, but you've eaten less, right? So you still feel like you've had a full meal because you ate everything on your plate, but in reality, you ate less. So that's Parkinson's law with food. So we do the same thing with the bank accounts. Each one of those accounts is going to have, the operating expense account is going to have less money in it than it did in the prior months. But now you have profit, taxes, and owner's pay that are their own small plates and set aside for their own intention and their own purpose. The other analogy or guardrail that makes this work is that we eat our vegetables first. So when we're trying to improve our health, we know that the vegetables are the things that have the minerals and vitamins in them that we need. And so we're encouraged to eat those things first before we eat the sweets and the fats, right? The things that taste good but aren't necessarily good for us. This is the same thing in business. We want to pay yourself first. We want to allocate to profit and owner's pay before we pay any expenses every time. Profit and owner's pay are what lead to a sustainable business. Operating expenses are necessary, like the fat is necessary in our diet, but it needs to have guardrails around it. And so that's why we put those small plates in place and make sure that we pay profit and owner's pay first. And that way operating expenses is at a healthy margin and not eating into our profit on a regular basis. And then the third guardrail that makes this work is we remove temptation. So specifically the profit and tax accounts are going to grow on a regular basis. We don't really use that money. We're going to talk about how we use the profit account in a minute. But the tax account, you may only withdraw from that 4 times a year if you make quarterly estimated payments. And if you don't do quarterlies and you only pay once a year, you only withdraw from that once a year. So if that's April, in March, you probably need to have a considerable chunk of money in that tax account. So if that is sitting right next to your operating expense account, it can be tempting. It can be like having your favorite candy on the kitchen table, and every time you walk by it, it's like, eat me, right? That's really not good if you're trying to get healthy. Having your tax account right next to your operating expense account may not be good if you're trying to reduce expenses, and that tax account is sitting there saying, I'm available, you can use this money. You know you can't, you know your tax bill's coming, but that doesn't matter when you're in the moment and you have that bright, shiny object. It's really tempting. So we encourage people to have their tax and profit accounts at a completely separate bank or not have online access to it so that it doesn't show up on your bank account. So you're tricking your mind to forgetting that you have that money available to you, removing temptation. And then the fourth thing we want to do is establish a cadence. So I said we want to have our money sit in that income account until we're ready to allocate it into the different accounts. When do we allocate it? That's the cadence. And that is different for every business owner. Some people have Money Mondays or Finance Fridays, and they do it once a week, or maybe every other week on the same day of the week. They pick every other Monday to do it. Some people will do it on the 10th or 15th of the month, and then again on the 25th or the end of the month. It kind of depends on if you have payroll in your business. That's a really good place to do it, right around payroll time, so that you make sure you have enough money in your operating expense account to cover payroll. If you don't have payroll, usually weekly, or sometimes people do it monthly. If your revenue comes in all at one time, maybe you can just do it monthly. And that's really nice because then you're doing the bulk of your money work 2 or 4 times a month. And then the other days, you're just checking your bank balances, making sure nothing wonky happened and getting back out. And that's really nice. It will also start to teach you a lot about how cash flows in your business. You'll learn if you're doing this twice a month. I get a lot of money at the beginning of the month, not so much at the end, or vice versa. Whatever it is, I have a lot of expenses at the opposite time when I'm getting money. You start to learn these things when you have systems in place. And then the other cadence that's really important to know in your business is the quarterly profit distribution. And this is one of my favorite things. Sorry, I'm not showing you the cadence. There's the cadence that is the fourth one that we want to have in place. The other cadence that's really fun that we get to do once we have this system installed in our business is give ourselves a quarterly profit distribution. So that profit account that I talked about, and I said it's going to accumulate a balance in it. Once a quarter, we take a look at it and we say how much is in it, and we take 50% of it and we get to take a profit distribution for ourselves. This is above and beyond our salary that's coming from our owner's pay account. The profit is the bonus. The profit is the return on investment for the risk that you took to start a business and all the work and effort that you put in at the beginning without having an owner's pay or a return on investment. So we take 50% and we take that as a profit distribution. The other 50% stays in that account, and that becomes our cushion. That becomes the, oh shit, I didn't know something was going to come up in my business and now I need to pay for it. And so you do have a little bit of savings built up in your business. The other thing I will say about the profit account is if you have debt in your business, you also use the profit account to pay off the debt instead of giving yourself the full profit distribution. So that's a really small nuance. I just like to mention that because a lot of people do have debt on their business and we do want to get that paid off. So we use the profit distribution. We take a smaller profit distribution and put a lot of it towards debt so that when that's paid off, that's our celebration. And then we get to start taking a much larger profit distribution at that point. I'm seeing some comments here. I'm gonna run through one more quick slide and then I'll definitely get back to the questions. I just want to tell you some things that we've seen happen with some of our clients who have implemented Profit First, because I think it's really important to understand what's possible. A lot of times as business owners, we get so sucked into the day-to-day and what's happening in our business, the fires that we need to put out or selling to clients or serving clients, that we forget about the long term and what might happen if we aren't paying attention. So one of my clients had a team member actually whose dad passed away, and the team member wasn't going to be able to take time off to grieve and be with their family. And the business owner used that profit account to pay for their bereavement time. And so I just feel like that is one of those things that most people wouldn't be able to do in their current business with their current cash flow. But profit makes things like that possible, makes taking care of people and being really generous. You can do that from a place of care and a place of, like I said, taking care of people really is what it's about, rather than fear or scarcity around somebody leaving or not being able to pay somebody. You get to take care of people when you're profitable. Same thing, but for the owner themselves, they were having a baby and they wanted to be able to take time off from their business to take care of themselves and be with their brand new baby, their newborn. And through the owner's pay account, they were able to build up a buffer so that they were able to take that time off and pay themselves. And that's different from most business owners. Most business owners, when they take time off, don't get paid, right? And they have to pay somebody to step in for them. So she was able to do both. She paid somebody to step in for her, and she took time and paid herself for being on maternity leave. Like I just talked about with debt, we've helped lots and lots of people eliminate a lot of debt in their business. And the important thing that I want to mention here is we helped with both the financial aspect of this, but also the emotional aspect of this. There's a lot of stuff around debt in the world. A lot of debt is bad, and that is a personal thing, but it's sometimes in business it's necessary. So there's a lot of emotional healing that we do around this as well. And that's really important because we've seen people pay off a lot of debt, not do the emotional work, and then go right back into debt. And so when you do both at the same time, the chances of you going back into debt are less. And that's really important because it really hurts my heart when I see people pay off a lot of debt and then get right back into it. So we do both. And again, that's why we take the profit distribution and we take a little bit for you and more for the debt, but we're also saving that 50% at the same time. Because I've also seen people pay off a lot of debt and use all their savings to do it, and then the HVAC goes out on their brick and mortar business. And so they're right back in debt for that purpose. So a lot of making sure we're doing a lot of things at the same time rather than putting all our eggs in one basket, so to speak. And then, like I said, generosity without guilt. When you have a profitable business, a lot of our clients will also set up scholarship funds, or they know how much pro bono work they can do because they know that their main line of business, their main revenue is profitable. And so they can dedicate a little bit of time. And like I said, you have that generosity without guilt, which is really important as a business owner. We want to be both generous, but we also don't want to leave with guilt. Okay. Lots of questions. I see them coming in. Nicole, have you gathered them at all for me, or do you want me to scroll back up and figure out where they all are?
So Joe, did I just press my button? I love to press these buttons for crazy. It's just a thing. I'm going to do it. I know it. Joe was saying in here, would you use AI to generate income and do business?
I love AI, if that's the question. I'm not sure. It just really depends on your revenue streams, right? And what is working for your business. And so if there are ways that you can monetize AI, I don't see a problem with that at all.
I don't think you understood the question very well, but I think you're getting towards it. I have embraced AI since about probably 4 years ago. And since I embraced it, the variation has grown, of course, because of variety. And you probably have seen on YouTube more and more that the videos are produced by AI. The reason I asked that question is the consideration. Would you use that tool, which can be an actual you mentioned about emotions earlier. It can be an emotional companion to an extent. Leveraging it as others have done, Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, to name just a handful, technically could generate income. It's still up to us, though. We have the choice. We have the control. AI is not that creative, but it can create images. It can partially refine our writing, can produce links or URLs for us. And keep in mind, I work in the IT industry, but now I'm business-minded to help businesses. That's why I asked the question, would you consider strongly, even though you seem to be receptive to AI? I've heard both spectrums, both absolute spectrums. Some resist it like the plague, thinking Terminator. Others embrace it because of the 21st century productive direction it takes. It offers, actually, not dominating, to collaborate, to work with us, not against us. We don't have androids yet that actually do this. For those who actually, which I know this is recorded, think that it's going to be Terminator, eliminate that from the 80s from your mind, because 21st century is a different approach. Despite the owners of these AI systems predominantly are here in the States. But that's why I asked the question, would you leverage it more from your business or use it more just a similar way as an administrative assistant to help you with your writing business approach and still do your own work? That's why I was asking that question in that way.
I do feel like I'm embracing it. I do feel like I'm trying to be middle of the road. I'm with you. I feel like I've seen both sides of the spectrum, and I'm like, they're both crazy. That they're neither one gonna happen. I kind of feel like maybe
At least
that's
you're honest.
what's wrong with the world in general is we're so
But you mentioned earlier also regarding debts. I discussed that with
yeah,
AI also, especially this country, but we're not alone because actually
right.
it's global.
Yeah.
The struggles we are facing presently is why we entrepreneurs are embracing more with our entrepreneurship to group up. We're actually collecting each other more because of the fact we support each other.
Yeah.
Hence, Nicole and me, we've been connected. I just met today. I already sent out my LinkedIn to you because the connection I feel will have a great deal of value, not just
Yeah.
monetarily, but a lot more also because the inputs you provide are actually, for one, grounding, second, realistic, third, it actually helps for one to be balanced in their lives. I meditate also.
Yeah.
I'm actually musically inclined. I was raised with classical music in the past. So I have an appreciation for every genre of music style. I still despise rap, but that's a whole other story. Yet the
Yeah.
Latino in me being Cuban is another area I embrace as well, which gives me also a lot more flavor and passion. But in business, I look more on the human side, as you've seen in your own life too, in your business, regarding diplomacy, connecting,
Yeah.
empathy, listening, but then share wisdom, feedback, of course, to give input and see what does work. I learned from yoga, which you probably heard the terminology, what serves me, but then also what serves them too is
It serves
actually the
you
change of
too.
stage, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I'm speaking the most here because everybody else is shy, but I don't care. I'm just being myself. And Nicole's
You're
cool with
here.
it.
I love it. Interaction is so much better as a presenter than having somebody just talking into
By
the
the way,
mic.
is the slideshow done? Are you finished with this or you still got
I'm
more?
not quite done.
Yeah.
I'll
It's
let
on
you
the
go
way.
on. Sorry.
Yeah,
No,
I
you're good.
do just want to elaborate on something. I know we've been having this discussion. I've had this discussion many times. I want to say, just as a side pivot, that I have seen that my clients and the people I work with in network are not shy. I think they're just starting to wake up to that we can connect again and people will have a conversation. I think
Yeah.
it's that we got so binge watch and webinars have not helped with this because you go in a room and you're lost in the sauce. Nobody wants to talk to you. They just want to present. And I want to thank you, Shannon, for being so supportive and able to answer questions. And that's
Mm.
just so important to have the interaction and just be so open to what people are saying and being able to pivot with that. But it's true to form, you know your stuff. That's why you can do this. So
Yeah.
thank you.
For sure. Thank you. Just a couple things that y'all said. Joe, I think maybe this is where you're going with the AI question. I have a I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I don't really start more businesses, but I have a lot of ideas in my head. And that has been the best use of AI for me is like a place to go and get them out and to actually turn them into things that help people, right? And so it's more than an administrative assistant. I've definitely used it in that way too, but it's like getting my ideas out of my head and into something. So leveraging it in that way has been the most exciting for me. And again, allowing me to help more people, I feel like. And then I have to get out and connect. And this has been, it's how Nicole and I met just through networking, right? It's been so fun for me for the last, I would say 18 months. I've been really focused on just getting out and getting to know people again. And I've been in a remote business for almost 18 years now. So I've had a lot of sitting in my home office and it's okay, but I really enjoy getting to know people and have these conversations.
Almost two
So there's a lot
decades working at home, girl. I think we got to talk definitely.
of for sure. We did
Go
have
on your piezo though. I'm really loving this. And I think you
awesome.
guys are right. You guys are right.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to just tell you all, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to run a business alone. You don't have to implement the system on your own. You don't have to look at this money mindset on your own. I think it's easier when you have somebody to hold it with you. Of course, if you're already on this journey and you've already figured it out or you're figuring it out, keep going. You can do it alone, but how can we help you? I just want to tell you about that really quick. So like I said at the beginning, we do bookkeeping for people. So if that's an area where you're just like, I don't even know what my numbers are, we can help you with getting those cleaned up and keeping them current, making sense. We love to educate people on their finances or even on their financial statements. A lot of business owners just don't know what we don't know. And understanding your financial statements is a really good place to start. So we can help you with that. We can also help you with implementing Profit First in your business. We've done a lot of the education around that today, and hopefully you have a basic understanding. There are a lot of ways that we can personalize the Profit First system for your business and help you figure out what percentages to be allocating. So we didn't talk about how much to allocate into each account, and that's really because it depends a lot on your business. And I don't want to give broad numbers here and have somebody go do that, and you can hurt your business if you use numbers that aren't good for it. And so I'm going to give you a tool here in a minute to help you figure out your numbers on your own. And if you figure that out and then you're like, I can do this on my own, great. And if not, you can also book a call with us and we can go over that, or we can help you implement it on your own. We also, or help you implement it. We also do fractional CFO work. So if you are more on the strategic path of needing guidance with your finances, we can come in and help you with bigger picture profitability, pricing, capacity, growth, all of those types of things. That is definitely a more, I don't necessarily like the word intense because I think it gives a lot of the wrong idea, but it's more frequent conversation for sure. And a lot of people feel better faster with more frequent conversation. So that's what fractional CFO work goes. And then just putting cash flow systems in place alongside Profit First. There are some other things that you can do to make sure you're paying yourself consistently, even in those slow months or those unexpected months. Or what do you do in big growth months when you've had a bomb month? What does that look like cash flow wise? We can help with all of that. So just wanted to put that out there for you. I think it's important for you to know what is available as far as support goes. And then what are your next steps? So full disclaimer, I totally used AI to create this instant assessment for you. You can go to fitforprofit.com/assess, and it will walk you through an instant assessment. And you're going to put in your average monthly revenue, and it's going to help you decide what accounts you need to have in your business. There are some questions there about, do you have labor? Do you have team? Do you have payroll? Do you have cost of goods sold? Those kinds of things. And then it's also going to give you the recommended percentages for your size business, and also ask you some questions again about like, how much are you paying yourself and how much do you have in savings? And that will help determine where you currently are, and it'll give you a path to get to healthier percentages for your business. So you'll be able to see your current allocation percentages and then your target allocation percentages, seeing that gap, and maybe some ideas on how to move towards what might be more healthy for your business. And then finally, the clarity call. So if anybody wants to connect, again, I don't really care what we talk about on this call, whatever's going to support you and serve you the best. There's a QR code, fitforprofit.com/clarity. It's a free 30-minute call. If you've done the instant assessment, that's the best. We can take those results and we can talk about it. We can also talk about what came up for you on this call with the reflection time, what's going on with your money relationship, or we can talk about the practical systems and cash flow. Either way, my goal from that is to give you a clear plan for the next 30 days so that you can actually take something and implement it. And again, I hope that's what you got from this call. I hope you got 5 accounts. If 5 accounts feel like too much, maybe you start with 1. There's always ways that we can ease into things. I don't want to overwhelm anybody. So again, we can use the clarity call for that as well. That's what I have for you today. I know we have still a lot of time, so I'm happy to just hang out and talk money, business, whatever it is with anybody. I can stop my screen share, but I think Nicole's put all of the links in the chat, and I'm excited to just talk with people about business and money.
Yeah, you guys can unmute, come on camera, ask some questions, have some interaction. I know it sounds overwhelming, 5 accounts, and I can't keep up with 1. So, but that just makes so much sense now, right? Is to just keep it in one spot, because I'm everywhere all the time. I gotta check this place and transfer over here and do this and do that. And then I'm like, oh, let's really think about it. But Patrick says, excellent presentation, Shannon.
Thank you, Patrick.
Absolutely.
Don't
Absolutely.
worry about being a multitasker, Nicole, even though it's a lie. Multitasking is actually part of our nature in business.
I would say multifunctional.
Yes,
When
better
we
term,
multitask
better term,
and
better
try
term.
to use, if we do multitask, we breathe, we sit, we move, we look at the video and talk to each other. That's enough multitasking. But I think there's that falsity that we have to do it all and do it ourselves. And just because you can DIY doesn't mean you should. But that's what's great about Shannon is really breaking it down, because so many of the people here and that are connected to Voice Lab have been in business at least 5 years or coming out of escaping corporate America. So they understand that, but it's just coming back to simplifying. And that's why I really like what you do and what you're sharing.
And Shannon, you actually did share quite a bit of actually good information itself. And I'm looking forward to the link for that presentation because I could dissect the crap out of that thing. And thank you, Nicole. I'm looking forward to the appointment when you sit up with me, which is great because picking brains more. From my IT background that I've got for so many damn years, God, I can't believe it's almost unbelievable. I've been in Tampa too long, but I love Florida, despite being a former Buckeye, Ohioan, Cincinnati of all places. But the irony I find, and you were speaking also about family connections. I've actually been protective of my energies with my own brother and my sister who are both older than me. She's got 12 years on me, okay? She's 71 this year. He'll be 61 coming up in September. Do the math. It's insane. I'm the baby. But I feel as if I might be probably the most wise, as well as maybe a bit more protective of my energies because they tried to have me come up, sidetrack here a little bit, in December to go up there, and they were going to buy my ticket to fly up. Downside was the way they sold it and promoted it to me failed. It was narcissism at its best definition, forcing me to go up. I don't care about the money, dude. It's not the point. You're not welcoming by the way you provoked it to me. Make it inviting, not as if you're demanding me. Difference in approach. If she would let her sister or daughter-in-law talk to me more, I would have left that same day and flew up.
This is exactly what I think, Shannon, where you were alluding to earlier in the conversation when you're talking about our connection to family and money, our sacral, our root chakras, are up into the solar plexus of that connection in that healing point, even on a soul-led level, which leads to us in leadership. That we're out there making money, and there's so many people out there still to this day because we're online and we're doing the thing. But take that time. I think that's just it, putting that on your schedule and time managing just to write it down. Are you saying, is there something we can do just to start maybe once a week, every day? How obnoxious should we get onto? How much time should we get on the scale with it?
Term obnoxious.
So we're not like dieting where we're cleaning out our whole entire house and then we're in sugar. It looks like sugar withdrawal, right? Then you don't stay on the diet, you don't lose the weight, you don't go back to the
Sounds like you're calling the word cleansing, purification almost, right?
So what is your best bet on that, Shannon?
Honestly, the more you can be aware, the first step is honestly being aware of how much you even think about money. If you can be aware of how often that even crosses your mind, right? Like when you go to the store, what is the thought you have around money? If you can just gain awareness into that thought pattern around when you're dealing with money, that will be the first huge shift. That really doesn't take any more time, right? Because I just think about like when you go to the grocery and you're tapping to pay on the grocery store, you're waiting for the cashier. Are you aware of what's going on, or are you thinking about in your head, or are you thinking about where you're going next and what's next or what you're having for dinner or whatever else is going on? So a lot of it is really just about being present to what is actually going on in your head. And then
the latter part is what you just mentioned, the present moment. I don't care about the money I spent for the food I gathered, it serves me, my health. The cost can be recovered in some way if I already have the reserve. The present moment is where I am. I'm in that moment, the gift, if you will. Yeah.
For some people, the act of paying, they do it so unconsciously.
Yes.
They're just not really aware of, remember that sick feeling that somebody had in their stomachs, or the tense thing that is going on, the weight that they're carrying on their shoulders. So that is happening. They're just not aware of it, right? And they're a lot of times overshadowing it with, I'm just trying to be grateful. We do need to recognize that there might be something underneath that first. And so that awareness is really where I like to start with people. We sometimes do an exercise with people where we make them write down for a whole day every money interaction they had. And this is one of those places where we're in the 21st century. There's nothing we can do about it. But the fact that we don't actually touch money anymore, sometimes
that has a lot.
Really? You want to go down that road? Seriously?
So
all right, I'm proving it to you right now.
Yeah, you have it. So let me ask you, Shannon, because this is recorded and people are going to watch it,
Yeah.
there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the group that are looking at this in the way when they have that thought or not understanding that are starting a coaching business. A lot of healers, coaches, consultants that I work with coming out of or coming into this and saying, hey, I want to do this either full force, I'm ready to stop hustling, looking at the cost of what it really, the cost of doing business. So what tip would you give people to say, hey, if you're starting business, you have to look at this and have this kind of nest egg set up so you can have the flow just happen?
Yeah. One of my favorite analogies for people who are starting in business is an airplane and making sure that you have fuel for your airplane, right? And there's a launch time. So when you're on the runway, that's the time before you actually launch your business or your new product or whatever it is. And you have decisions you make. The pilot has decisions they make on the runway, and then they have decisions they're making as they're launching. And then once they're at altitude and flying, there aren't a whole lot of decisions. They just actually let the computer do the thing, right? And that's when you're letting the money flow. And so some of those decisions are like, how much money do you have built as a nest egg? And how long are you going to give yourself to decide whether this business is going to work or not, right? And that is all part of the airplane. Once they get to a certain place, they have to take off on that runway. They no longer have the option to divert and not take off. And so the time and the money are the two biggest decisions in my mind. How much money do you have? How long are you going to give yourself to prove that? And how much time do you want to invest personally yourself into this? Do you have no kids, no family, and you can do 12-hour days? More power to you. That's not my decision. Or do you want to do a 6-hour day and you only want to work 4 days a week? And that's a different decision and that has a different result. And so I think making those decisions before you get too far down the road, before you're not going to get to cruising altitude before making those decisions, because you're constantly going to be battling those internal decisions. But making those as far back the runway as you can will definitely ease the launch process of a business.
Now, you even brought up earlier, I think the actual, which I'm considering to upgrade my computer because mine is from 2021. I'm already considering to actually go up to actually upgrade mine because warranties expired and all this. Micro mini computer, by the way. So I'm looking at various manufacturers for that. And I was using AI to actually dissect the most matching direction. I used to be a gamer, not anymore. I use 3 monitors. If you saw my desk system, it's like mission control. Now I've actually seen others taking a picture or a video. They own a business, other part of the country, could be New York or California. And I'm like, how the hell you afford this? But then they're using what you mentioned earlier, I think, Nicole, about crypto. And then Nicole, and then Shan, you stepped on that. Unfortunately, I've had some poor experiences with the crypto side, but I do have my Coinbase. I'm actually going to use AI to see the most effective profitable approach on the money side for that, for a separate income. It actually banks. My hope is that the Coinbase side is safer and not screw me over, because the fact that's my actual concern, not fear, it's more of apprehension. I'm being realistic with it because the fact that I've already been screwed 3 years ago with the crypto that ate away at a funding I received. My parents died. And I was like, okay, he's got myself robbed because I allowed it. Now I got to recover and be able to then surpass what I lost, which is the intent. And with my business, my hope is, and actually intent is, to go beyond, to do 7 figures a year, maybe even 8 or 9, whatever comes. Because Leo Global can scream, roar, make the entire planet know that we exist beyond the United States. But you mentioned about actually the balancing side. That's why I mentioned in the chat regarding multiple streams is smarter, because even the rich millionaires and billionaires do multiple streams, always investing. And they also speak about knowledge. What are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I totally agree. Multiple streams of revenue are like required. I'm also a huge fan of monthly recurring revenue as much as you can build that into your business. Just the ease that brings to building a business is just phenomenal. I have clients who run their businesses off of launches basically all the time. And the stress that they're under, I'm just like, oh,
Even Nicole.
Yeah, that is crazy. But that's why you do something like a constant workshop or masterclass instead of waiting for a launch, because you're already putting it out there. You're getting ahead of it. You're getting ahead of the summit or the event. What I love to say, and thank you, Joe, for sharing that and just sharing that discussion. I hope you guys have a great conversation together. I know we are getting close to time. So will you share, Shannon, what a call looks like when someone gets on a call with you? Basically, what can they expect?
Yeah, so I really like to start with the emotional piece, just like we did today. Just like, what are some questions? I really usually ask, what is your earliest memory of money? Or what do you feel like your relationship with money is like? And just having that conversation, getting it out there, and then asking people, what do you notice happening in your body right now? As you talk about your earliest memory of childhood or money, or as you talk about your money relationship, what's your body doing? And again, just that awareness. And then we do a little exercise. So let's shift that right now in the moment. Let's take 30 seconds and shift it. And then we can talk about, okay, what's going on with your business? And really that's what it comes down to. What is going on with your business? What's revenue look like in your business? What are your different streams of revenue? How's that working? How's that feeling? How are you paying yourself in your business? And what kind of savings do you have set up in your business? And those are the 4 big kind of questions that I ask. And that will tell me a lot. And then we can, like I said, create a plan for what the next 30 days looks like. If you want help with it, great. If not, that's fine too. Here's your plan. Go do it and let me know how it's going in 30 days.
You and I have to connect.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys definitely.
I did that in sign language, so you understood it. And I got it now on record. I probably did it wrong in sign language, but you followed the point.
Looking forward to it for sure. You have all the links, I think, in the chat.
I am going to save the chat because the chat to me has been more valuable than expected, even though this was actually unpredicted for me because I went in the moment. Like you spoke about being present. I just took a basic instinct. I'm like, I'm going to jump on. My partner's, dude, go. You going to sleep? Yeah. Whatever.
I love when serendipity puts us in places we're supposed to be.
Yes,
Exactly.
definitely. So thank you so much, Shannon. Such valuable information. And you just great way to simplify it and share the information. Folks, connect with Shannon. And if you want to share, you have a product or service yourself that you want to affiliate, share in a masterclass where you can have interaction and we can change the entrepreneur's thoughts and definitely build the relationships, because that's what this is all about. Save the chat. If you didn't save it early, you should have saved it often, but save it anyway right now. Connect with Shannon, connect with each other so we can grow this relationship and truly collaborate like we are meant to. All right, guys, thank you so much for this. It's an honor. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Welcome to a world of unforgettable experiences and immersive marketing. Transform your events into extraordinary moments that captivate your audience. Whether it's corporate gatherings, product launches, or community celebrations, our immersive marketing solutions elevate your events to new heights. Immerse your attendees in a world of audio books and podcasts tailored to your brand. Engage their senses and leave a lasting impression. Explore the power of storytelling with our curated podcast content. From insightful discussions to entertaining narratives, we've got the perfect audio experience for your event. Ready to make your next event unforgettable? Scan the QR code now and book a complimentary immersive marketing call with our experts. Let's create memories together. Elevate your events with immersive marketing. Scan the code and let the magic begin.
You're showing up. You're posting. You're speaking. You're doing everything they told you would grow your business. So why is it not converting? Because visibility is only half the equation. Getting attention is easy. Turning that attention into clients takes strategy. VoiceLab was built to solve that. This is where front-end visibility meets back-end conversion. You learn how to get on stages, create your own platforms, and use podcasts, summits, and workshops to grow your audience and generate real leads. Then you learn what most people never build. A system that captures those leads, follows up, nurtures relationships, and turns interest into revenue. Email and newsletter strategy that actually gets responses. Workflows, not just more noise. Real connection that leads to real business. Inside Voice Lab, you are not guessing. You're learning the how. You're implementing in real time. You're building a business that works even when you are not constantly chasing attention. Because here's the truth. If you don't have visibility, no one knows you exist. If you don't have systems, nothing converts. Voice Lab gives you both, so you can stop performing for attention and start building momentum that pays you back. If you are ready to grow your authority, expand your reach, and finally turn visibility into income, join the Voice Lab. Scan the QR code, join Voice Lab Group on the school platform, and build the business